Have you ever had a moment when life felt so heavy that even the smallest act of kindness felt like a miracle? Tonight, I want to share with you a story that reminds us of how a stranger's kindness can change a life forever. This is not just a story, it is a lesson we all need to hear. It was late evening, the kind of evening when the sky is painted in shades of orange and pink, but the beauty of the world felt lost on someone carrying too much pain. Daniel, a young man in his mid-20s, walked down the busy city street with his shoulders slouched and his head heavy with worry. His life had been falling apart piece by piece. He had lost his job 2 months earlier, his rent was overdue, and he barely had enough money left in his pocket for a single meal. The world around him moved, fast cars honked, people rushed home from work, couples laughed as they passed by, but for Daniel, it all felt distant, like he was invisible. And maybe, in a way, he wanted to be invisible. As he reached a small park bench at the corner of the street, Daniel sat down and pulled out his worn wallet. Inside were only a few crumpled bills and coins. He counted them again and again, as if by some miracle the amount might change. But it did not. His throat tightened. Tonight would be another night of hunger. He leaned back, closed his eyes, and whispered to himself, "How did it come to this? What's the point of trying anymore?" At that very moment, an older man walked by. His clothes were simple, a bit worn, and he carried a grocery bag in his hand. He noticed Daniel sitting there, lost in thought. Something about the young man's expression stopped him. Maybe it was the emptiness in his eyes, or maybe it was the way he clutched his wallet like it held the weight of his world. The stranger slowed down, hesitated for a moment, then turned toward Daniel. "Hey, son," he said gently, "are you all right?" Daniel opened his eyes and gave a forced smile. "Yeah, I am fine," he lied, his voice trembling. But the stranger did not believe it. He had seen that look before, the look of someone standing on the edge of giving up. Without saying another word, he placed his grocery bag on the bench and sat beside him. For a moment, they sat in silence, listening to the distant hum of the city. Then the man reached into his bag and pulled out a wrapped sandwich. He held it out to Daniel. "Here, you look like you could use this." Daniel hesitated. Pride, shame, and hunger all clashed inside him. He wanted to refuse, but the smell of fresh bread reached his nose, and his empty stomach growled in betrayal. Slowly, with shaky hands, he accepted it. "Thank you," he whispered. The man smiled warmly. "Don't thank me, just eat." Daniel unwrapped the sandwich and took a bite. It was simple, but at that moment, it tasted like the most delicious meal he'd ever had. He did not realize it, but tears were forming in his eyes. The man noticed, but said nothing. Sometimes, silence is the kindest thing you can give. After a while, Daniel finally asked, "Why would you do this? You don't even know me." The man looked out at the street, his eyes distant, as if remembering something from long ago. "Years ago," he said softly, "I was sitting exactly where you are now, lost, hungry, ready to give up. And a stranger came along and handed me food. That small act kept me going, just enough to get back on my feet. I promised myself that if I ever saw someone in that place, I'd do the same." Daniel stared at him, speechless. He realized in that moment that this was not just food, it was hope, passed from one person to another, like a torch in the dark. The man stood up, picking up his grocery bag. "Take care of yourself, son. Life gets heavy, but it also surprises you in ways you can't imagine. Just do not give up, before the surprise comes. And with that, he walked away, disappearing into the crowd, leaving Daniel with a full stomach and a heart that felt just a little lighter. That night, Daniel did not sleep on the cold bench. He did not collapse under the weight of despair. Instead, he remembered the man's words, and for the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, things could change. The next morning, with renewed determination, he went out to search for work again. It was not easy, but within a week, he found a small job at a local store. It did not pay much, but it was enough to buy food and start catching up on rent. Each day, as he worked, he carried with him the memory of the stranger who had stopped, noticed, and cared. Months later, Daniel's life began to stabilize. He never saw that man again, but he never forgot him either. And one evening, while walking home, he spotted another young man sitting alone on a bench, looking just as hopeless as he once had. Daniel paused, then reached into his bag and pulled out an extra sandwich he had bought earlier. He handed it over and said with a smile, "Here, you look like you could use this." And just like that, the kindness that had once saved him continued its journey, passed from one soul to another, proving that a simple act of generosity can echo through time, touching lives we may never fully know. So, what's the lesson here? Sometimes we think that helping someone requires grand gestures or huge sacrifices, but the truth is, the smallest act, a smile, a kind word, a shared meal, can be the spark that keeps someone from giving up. We do not always see the results of our kindness, but it matters more than we realize. Life is hard, yes, but we are not meant to walk through it alone. A stranger's kindness might seem small in the moment, but it can create ripples that stretch farther than we can ever imagine. If this story touched you, let it remind you of the power you carry within yourself, the power to make someone's day brighter, to restore their hope, to be the reason they believe in goodness again. And if you believe in the importance of kindness, I invite you to be part of this journey. Share this video with someone who might need it today. Leave a comment below and tell us about a time when kindness changed your life. And if you have not already, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more stories that warm the heart and inspire the soul. Because at the end of the day, kindness costs nothing, but its impact is priceless.